Rodnovery 101, Slavic Pagan State of Mind. How to perceive oneself in the world as a Slavic pagan. Vast majority of modern followers of Slavic native faith were socialized in a weird society, weird standing for Western, educated, industrialized, rich, democratic. Such society diametrically differs from a society in which our pre-Christian Slavic ancestors lived. This difference in socialization results in modern aspiring Rodnovers' misunderstanding of the Slavic pagan point of view and approach to life/way of being, which results in vast amount of fake lore being routinely generated by well-meaning, but deeply misguided Western self-proclaimed pagans. The second season of Vidya's podcast, Searching for the Slavic Soul, is a how-to guide to go through the internal transformation from the weird to the pre-Christian Slavic pagan. In order to facilitate culturally grounded understanding of the Slavic pagan traditions, rituals, and more generally worldview. Step 1. Connecting with ancestors. Ancestral veneration is the most important and best attested part of Slavic tradition. Rituals related to ancestral veneration survived Christianization in various forms: Jayati, Radunitsa, grave offerings and feasts, remembrance days, in all areas of Slavdom, indicating that ancestral veneration was a more pan-Slavic form of cult/spiritual life than more deity/gods-oriented practices. Step 2. Rebuilding kinship-based identity. Kinship-based identities are very well attested among pre-Christian Slavs, including in early medieval legal codices, which were based on tribal pagan judicial tradition. There can be no doubt that our pre-Christian Slavic ancestors' individual identity was not based on self-created/individualist identities, but on the individual's family and its status. For our ancestors' family was everything. It was the beginning and the end of every individual, both in life and in afterlife, as a venerated ancestor. Step 3. Learning how to handle emotions without becoming overwhelmed by them. In modern times, particularly in the West, overwhelming emotions are perceived as a disease which needs to be either avoided or medicated. This results in many people in the West, some estimates indicate 1 in 5, use pharmaceuticals to numb their emotions. However, in Slavic tradition, becoming overwhelmed/not being able to cope with own emotions is perceived as a sign of demonic possession. This point of view is present in folk tradition of all Slavdom, South, East and West, and documented by many ethnographers, including Mashinsky. It appears that pre-Christian and more broadly pre-industrial Slavs took pride in remaining composed and in control of oneself when experiencing intense emotions, which is a state of composure to which modern followers of Slavic native faith should also aspire. Step 4. Recentering life from self to family. In the weird societies, the individual's life is focused on achieving the individual's goal of self-actualization, fulfillment, happiness, etc. However, as explained in the Step 2, among pre-Christian pagan Slavs, an individual's life did not belong to the individual, but to his or her family. Therefore, the life of an individual pre-Christian pagan Slavs was not about self-actualization, fulfillment, happiness, etc., but about keeping together, strengthening and enlarging the individual's family/bloodline. Step 5. Connect and align yourself with your dola or esrika/sudbina. Slavic tradition preserved a clearly pre-Christian concept of one's share, known mostly as dola, but among the southern Slavs called esrika/sudbina, which is bestowed upon and assigned to a newborn child by, most often female, and most often 3 goddesses, most often called Rodzenis, but also known as Nerknitsi or Sudjanitsi. Slavic dola is not really fate, and not really a protective spirit, but more a share of skills, talents, abilities, or even personality traits that, if embraced and used, give the biggest chance of achieving positive outcomes in all life's undertakings. Slavic tradition indicates that dola can be inherited from one's ancestors and sometimes even swapped with one's family members, which is yet another reason why followers of Slavic native faith must rebuild and cultivate family bonds, including bonds with one's ancestors. Step 6. Embrace Slavic narratives of life and history. The modern Western culture infects us with postmodern narratives of often skin color-based oppressor-victim dichotomies, social justice, and inherited guilt for the sins of our ancestors. Such narratives are deeply contrary to the Slavic pagan values, such as respect for one's ancestors, individual's agency, and focus on bettering own family/bloodline, regardless of the color of the skin of family members. Step 7. Become a Slavic hero. Slavic tradition preserved a clear distinction between phony narratives of life and living a real life. For example, in Russian Bylany, a Slavic hero has to choose one of 3 paths: one that ends in getting killed, one that ends in getting married, and one that ends in getting rich. Of course, the Slavic hero chooses the only path that can be real life, the one that ends in getting killed. No life ends in getting married, no life ends in getting rich, no life ends in becoming famous or celebrated. These are phony narratives that lead to fake achievements and bogus goals. The only life worth living is one that leads to getting killed. So reach out to your ancestors, embrace your bloodline, where you'll find your strength and courage to build the only future you, as a Slavic pagan, will ever have, one in which you are a venerated, celebrated, and admired ancestor. And if you need the help of gods on your path of a Slavic hero, by all means call on them. Promise them a valuable sacrifice and keep your promise if the gods intervene on your behalf. But it is not the worship of Slavic gods that makes you a Slavic pagan. It is the way you live your life. Slava.